Is it possible that the thing that most divides our loyalties and passions is what can inspire us all to work together? For centuries, sports has played a major role in defining the civic identity of America. Today, they hold the power and the ability to transform lives.
We're not looking for big league players, we're looking for big league people.
Ask the city of Los Angeles, who invested their profits from the 1984 Olympic Games in youth sports programs in the inner cities. Two sisters from Compton picked up a tennis racket. The rest is history. Sports allow an inspirational moment.
Oh wow, what a moment.
To ignite a battle to find a cure.
We have raised a little over $3 million.
They provide life lessons and hope, and the benefits of working together for the greater good. Most of all, sports are one of the few remaining methods we have to reach at-risk youth for positive social change. That is the power of sports.
Welcome to the Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001. I'm your host, Rick Horrow. This month we're in Houston, where several pro sports franchises have had amazing success on the field. We're here to talk about how sports enables communities to succeed off it. We'll sit down with Houston Texans President Jamie Roots and talk about his team's community efforts. We'll also introduce you to a group headquartered in Houston that's created an event that inspires athletes to raise millions for cancer research. But we start every show with our City Pulse. Let's take a trip around town and talk to Houston sports teams about how they use the power of sports. 7 years ago, the Houston Astros were one of the pioneers of Major League Baseball's efforts to bring back a love for the game to the inner cities. The Astros Youth Academy was built in 2010 in Acres Homes, a neighborhood northwest of downtown. Despite having over 25,000 residents, no baseball fields existed in Acres Homes before the academy was built. Its impact since 2010 has been dramatic.
The Academy offers free instruction year-round to anybody who shows up, and so far, I guess about 10,000 have showed up year to date. We've just recently started focusing on our girls softball, and we've got about 400 in the program. I mean, it's not about going on to be a professional ball player, but it's carrying those lessons that you've learned while you've been in sports as a child: honesty, leadership, teamwork, integrity. So it's life lessons as well.
After-school tutoring is offered at the complex, as well as career development education on opportunities in sports on and off the field. And while it's about more than sports, 19 athletes that trained at the academy in the last year have signed to play baseball or softball in college.
To see the kids go through the program, and then to be able to see them offered scholarships. And our staff here too helps locate money. Every month we send out a list of scholarships that are out there and encourage these young people to apply. You know, a lot of them are first generation college students. I mean, it's great. How can you not be proud?
While team ownership is often involved in the community programs of an organization, it's hard to believe that many teams, besides the Houston Rockets, have an owner invent a program themselves. Tillman Fertitta, we heard that First Shot is your idea, so tell us about it.
Well, I try to be a little creative every now and then.
Of course you do.
And it's just little things you want to do that are different. And I've always thought, why does baseball get to own first pitch and we shouldn't do first shot? So I think it's something great for the community here, and we're tying it into a charity, and it's liable to get picked up by a few other teams in the future. I wouldn't be surprised.
What makes First Shot bigger than a first pitch? A charitable tie. At every Rockets home game, a celebrity attempts a free throw for the charity of their choice. A miss means $1,000 donation, but a make gains the celebrity's charity $5,000. Shooters have included some of the world champion Astros, gymnast Simone Biles, and Rico Rodriguez from the hit TV show Modern Family. It's obviously a point of pride for Tillman Fertitta, who's always dreamed of owning the team in the state where he was born and raised.
It's a way of giving back to the community. You know, I plan on owning this team for a long time, and we plan on giving a lot of money away over the next 50 years.
That's the City Pulse of Houston. Up next, we head to NRG Stadium and talk to Houston Texans president Jamie Roots. In our ever-evolving search for the classic sports entrepreneur, the brains, the brawn, the looks, well, we found him. Jamie Roots, CEO, President, Houston Texans, Greater Houston Partnership. So many things. How's that?
Got a lot of hats. A lot of hats. Need them. It's hot here. A lot of sun.
Good to know you got a lot of hats. So you're a bit of a fraud just on the outside, because all of the articles talk about your lifelong aspiration being president of an NFL team, yet Clemson soccer, Indiana NBA soccer, Columbus Crew, and you end up here. How'd that happen?
It was a dream of mine. As I grew up, I played football just like all the other kids in our neighborhood. It's the highest level of sporting in the United States. Actually, globally, you think of it, it's as big as it gets. And so I wanted to play on the biggest stage. You know, things I love about being here is, number one, the people. We have an amazing front office staff. Our ownership group is so supportive of the things we're trying to get accomplished, not only on the field, in the stands with our fans, but also in the community. And just seeing the smiles on people's faces. I know the Houston Texans are important in the lives of our fans, and that gives us great pleasure. And we do think we are making a difference for Houston.
And let's talk about people in the hometown and J.J. Watt for a minute. Now, he's a Wisconsin kid, but you wouldn't know it. And all the money that he raised for relief and then his unfortunate injury, what has that guy meant to you and this town?
Well, I've been doing this a long time, and I've seen a lot of athletes, and he's a rarity, right? He's what I call the trifecta. And these things coming together rarely happen. Somebody who's got amazing, off-the-charts, God-given talent. Talent isn't enough. To have a second-to-none work ethic, right? And then number three, to fully embrace the obligation that you have to give back to the community and the privileged position you are in to, by your actions, inspire others to go out and make the community a better place. Rarely do you find those three things together, and JJ absolutely has it. Enlightened athletes do that. They recognize that there is a shelf life. You are the kind of ambassador in the community, an agent for positive change. So many doors are open for an athlete like that, like JJ and others.
Athletes have an expectation and some empowerment, but also an obligation to do certain things.
Well, they do, and really the enlightened ones recognize the platform that they have for making a difference in the community. And it's not just dollars and time, but the symbol of your involvement draws others. As an organization, we have the same thing. We talk about, you know, when there's an opportunity for us to step up and lead within our community and by our actions show others what the right thing is to do. Don Shula put it best: I know of no other way to lead than by example. And the example that we set, because we are such a visible entity, can truly inspire others to make the city of Houston a much better place for everyone.
And you have the ability through the Texans Foundation to galvanize and find conduits for that kind of support. $26 million is the published number you've raised. Give us some examples of kind of the special stuff that the foundation has done.
Well, I'll tell you, underpinning it all, the United Way has always been important to us. We are the #1 per capita contributor to the United Way in Houston, #1 in the National Football League, always have been, and that's a broad platform. But we've also established what we call our strategic community partners, the Houston Texans YMCA, the Boys and Girls Clubs Teen Club, and the Houston Food Bank. And we thought we have the capacity to hit these three things with a banner of the champions for youth. And it's not just dollars, but there are a lot of dollars that go there. It's the time of our staff and our players. When we have something to do in the community, we go to these strategic community partners. When we have opportunities to promote in our games and in our media the works that these organizations are doing, those are our go-to guys. So we've really done a fewer, bigger, better approach, hopefully making a tremendous impact in the lives of Houston youth and Texan youth. And we see ourselves as the caretakers of a community asset. It's not our team, it's Houston's team. It's Texas' team. And we're here, we just have the good fortune to be at the helm, and we've got to make good decisions because it is such an important public trust.
So here's the exclusive headline grabbing question, which you know has to happen. I'm not a journalist, but I try to figure this out. So how long is it until you and Deshaun Watson go back to Clemson and hold that trophy up together and say, this is ours?
Oh, I tell you, that would be a dream, but it wouldn't be just Deshaun, it'd be all the Clemson players.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We've got
I
a lot
forgot
of them on
about
our
them.
team. We'll all get down there. That'd be great.
Yeah, I understand. And he would be one of the reasons, as humble as he is, he would be one of the reasons. Thank you, my friend.
I appreciate you.
What do you get when you combine the NFL Scouting Combine, the Olympics, activities you see on a playground, and fundraising? Well, it's called the D10, and in just 8 short years, it's grown to be an incredible fundraising machine for a great cause.
After competing in track and cross country at Auburn, Dave Maloney found himself working on Wall Street alongside countless other former Division I athletes with a common desire to still test their athleticism against each other.
Spent the better part of 10 years just messing with each other to really decide who was the best athlete, and so I created a 10-event competition modeled after the NFL Combine that was designed to settle a friendly bet.
Fast forward 8 years, and Maloney moving from the Big Apple to Houston, and that friendly bet has become something truly remarkable. Now a National Athletic Tour event, the D10 challenges athletes in 6 events from the NFL Combine, plus 4 track and field events. But its real growth occurred when its founder realized there needed to be more than just competition to develop a community of participants.
The way that we looked at the world was, once you hung up your spikes or retired your cleats and you moved into the corporate world, you didn't necessarily stop being competitive. And so we said, well, how do you reinvigorate those competitive juices for a group of people that don't need another trophy? That's why we added this philanthropic component. That's how you can get that elite athlete, you know, quote unquote, out of bed and back onto the playing field. And so we built some software that would allow people to wager on your performances in the D10, and all the money that was wagered would go to fund pediatric cancer research. And that's how you get people that so many of whom care about the D10 as if it were a professional sporting event. All of the athletes are setting their performance goals in the event, and then people are wagering you on your ability to meet those goals. And so there is this huge vested interest, not only from the athletes in the playing field, but then from people in the stands, people from afar that want to see you perform because you've got money to win or lose.
These wagers have had a fundraising impact almost beyond belief, raising nearly $10 million for pediatric cancer research over the last 8 years. Over $500,000 was raised at the Houston event this year, with 100% of the proceeds going to the MD Anderson Children's Cancer Hospital right here in the Magnolia City.
We've got athletes that literally train for months, 6 months, 8 months, year round to compete in these 10 events. But they're doing it for a deeper purpose. It's not just about personal gratification. It's also about raising money for pediatric oncology research and treatment. And at the end of the day, I think it becomes a binding factor rather than something that isolates them.
And while nearly $10 million raised is an accomplishment in and of itself, the bigger impact of the D10 fundraising model is likely going to be long-term. It's something that could spark a new method of raising incredible amounts of money for good causes, utilizing the combination of amateur sports and philanthropy.
This little bitty thing that we have going, I still consider it small, and just blow it up into this massive, massive fire that really helps the beneficiaries that we work with.
The D10 is not necessarily designed to supplant the NFL or even iconic events like the Boston Marathon. It is designed to show the world that whether you're a big sports entity or you are something that's small and homegrown, you can apply our technology, our principles to competitive sports and philanthropic impact and see that those things merge. Those things tell a really compelling story. So in the years to come, there should be this huge, profound social impact that comes from what we started innocently.
What a truly incredible and amazing event and cause. When we come back, we'll check in with Fields and Futures in Oklahoma City. Behind me is the Houston Astros Youth Baseball Academy that we talked about earlier in the show, and the fields were celebrated by Major League Baseball at the recent World Series, which gets us back to Fields and Futures, a nonprofit in Oklahoma City committed to rebuilding 42 inner-city athletic fields for Oklahoma's largest school district, believing every child deserves the opportunity to experience the power of sports for themselves. And it starts with a safe place to play, a field to call home. Today we introduce you to Luther Crenshaw, whose search for acceptance took him from an inner-city gang to a school and a coach who gave him inspiration for a brighter future.
You're going to want to learn how to be a man. You're going to want to learn how to grow up and be a man. But you got to have somebody to show you. I was gangbanging since I was in the 8th grade. I just wanted to be like my cousins, basically. Because there wasn't no father figure or my father in my life. And I was following my cousins. They were shooting at people, selling weed, all that. And I almost got killed. It was basically so much chaos to where I wanted to do it, and at the same time I didn't.
We all gonna make mistakes, it's part of life. Okay, let's fix it by doing what comes next. Take care of what's next, take care of what's in front of you right now.
Whatever they're gonna look for in that game, they're gonna look for it because they're not getting it somewhere else. See, if they don't have the love at home, they don't have the family, they don't have the camaraderie, they're gonna go find it. And they're gonna channel that energy into something negative. And what you would like for them to do is channel it into something positive.
Coach Horrow, he started working with me every day, ever since he seen me. And I appreciate that because I need somebody in my life. He a father figure to me, I'm gonna be honest with you. He treat me like I'm his own son.
Any field where sports are played, I think what's mostly important about it is the relationship that you get. It involves all those players to have an individual relationship with the coach. That's something that, it's a bond that can never be broken.
He told me that he loved me. He told me. I said, I love you too, Coach. It feels great, because I never had a dad before. I never had somebody to show me how to be a man. And he's showing me how to be a man.
Thank you, Luther, for sharing your story with us, and thank you, Coach Horrow, for helping Luther find his way to a better place. We wrap up the show with our social spotlight right after this break. It's a time of year where several sports seasons overlap, which means there's never a shortage of material for our social spotlight. Dwayne Taylor has more.
Thanks, Rick, and you're exactly right. There's been no shortage of amazing stories related to sports and positive work over the last month. When 7-year-old Alex Ibarra of Oakland, California heard that people in Puerto Rico were struggling to get food and medicine after Hurricane Maria, he decided to auction off his prized possession, an autographed jersey from Christian Pulisic from the U.S. men's national soccer team. Pulisic learned of Alex's generosity and sent him a replacement jersey, video message, and commitment to also donate funds to Maria relief. In total, Alex and the American Outlaws chapter in Oakland, of which he's a member, raised over $3,000 for Puerto Rico disaster relief. And all of it started with a 7-year-old's willingness to part with his favorite possession to help others. While shopping at a mall in Overland Park, Kansas with her son, Larissa Coffey was in shock after a man offered to buy her son, Zamarian, 2 pairs of expensive shoes. So in shock that she didn't recognize the stranger offering was Kansas City Chiefs cornerback Marcus Peters. Peters was shopping as well and noticed Zamarian respectfully listening to his mother when she asked him to put down a pair of Air Jordans he was looking at. To reward his behavior, Peters told them he'd like to pay for the shoes himself. In an email to the Kansas City Star, Larissa recounted what happened, writing, "We need more men in the world like Marcus Peters." Around 60 visually impaired runners attempted to run the New York City Marathon this year, but only one attempted without an escort or being tethered to a guide. Thanks to the technology of a Brooklyn-based startup called WearWorks, Simon Wheatcroft, barely able to detect changes in light because of a rare genetic disorder, attempted the amazing feat. In addition to navigating around 50,000 other runners, Wheatcroft would also have to make it across 5 bridges and the rolling hills of Central Park. Pulses on an armband signaled left and right turns, while a sensor on his chest vibrated when a runner crossed his path. While rain and some unforeseen circumstances forced him to abandon the sensor and use a guide after 16 miles, a previously unthinkable achievement for someone with a visual impairment is now clearly in reach. The PGA Tour and PGA of America teamed up to create a charity golf tournament to raise funds for the ongoing recovery efforts following the tragic shooting in Las Vegas. First responders to the tragedy were invited to play with the pros, and 4-time PGA Tour winner Charlie Hoffman, who went to school at UNLV, pledged all of his winnings to the cause. Hoffman even wore special Las Vegas Strong shoes during the event. That's your social spotlight for this month. Back to Rick to wrap it up in H-Town.
That's it for this month in Houston. A big thank you to all our teams and guests. I'm Rick Horrow, and join us next time on The Power of Sports, presented by Group 1001.